Are you happy? Do you struggle when life doesn't go the way that you want? Well, today I want to talk about why we as humans are great at making ourselves unhappy and give you some ideas that the Stoics gave to us to help make our lives just a little bit better. Hello, friends. My name is Eric Cloward, and welcome to the Stoic Coffee Break. The Stoic Coffee Break is a weekly podcast where I take aspects of Stoicism and do my best to break them down to the most important points. I share my thoughts on Stoic philosophy as well as modern wisdom and share my experiences, both my successes and my failures, and hope that you can learn something from this, all within the space of a coffee break. This week's episode is called How We Make Ourselves Unhappy. Man is not disturbed by things, but by the views he takes of them. Epictetus. So, happiness is something that we all want. Yet so many of us sabotage our own peace of mind. We think that life should be a certain way, and that others should behave as we expect, that wealth guarantees fulfillment, or that happiness is something that we're somehow owed. But the Stoics teach us that much of our suffering is self-inflicted, not because life is unfair, but because of our own expectations and perceptions. So I wanted to do this podcast episode because even as I've been studying Stoicism for the last 9 years and creating this podcast for the last 7, I've still struggled. A lot, in fact. I've had some days and even weeks where I felt somewhat hopeless and like my life will never be what I want it to be. But what I've done time after time is I've returned to the lessons of the Stoics to help reset my mindset. So idea number 1, the tyranny of expectations. Now Epictetus said, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they happen, and your life will flow smoothly. So we all have expectations about how we think things should be. We expect life to be fair, for things to go smoothly, for success to come quickly, and for people to treat us the way that we want them to treat us. When reality doesn't match these expectations, then we suffer. We get disappointed, frustrated, depressed, or even angry that life isn't turning out the way that we want. This is because of our expectations. So the Stoics remind us that life is unpredictable, and expecting anything to go a certain way will set us up for disappointment and anxiety. And Marcus Aurelius even said, how ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. Instead of expecting things to go a certain way, we should learn to adapt to whatever comes. We can embrace amor fati, meaning that we should love our fate, that we love whatever happens to us, well, 1, because it's going to happen to us anyway, and 2, because the universe doesn't really care how you feel about it. So why choose to be in a bad mood about things that are outside of your control? Now, this isn't about becoming apathetic, but about being more focused. When you fall into overwhelm or apathy, then you're giving away your power. Want to feel more in control of your life? Figure out the choices you have and then take action. So as I've been working on building my coaching career, it's gone a lot slower than I expected. And it's been a real struggle. And there are days when I've just felt like giving up and getting a software job and quitting the podcast and all of this stuff completely. But time and time again, I go back to the lessons the Stoics have taught about letting go of expectations and working with whatever comes your way. And doing so helps me to not feel hopeless or helpless. I've been taking action where I can, and things are starting to move forward. I was able to speak at Google in Brussels in December, and I'm working on a project with a large bank here in the Netherlands to run workshops about how to integrate Stoic principles into leadership and teams. I've also been working on building out my community and creating some courses for that. What it comes down to is that Stoicism is not about not having trials or suffering, but rather to find better and healthier ways to deal with the obstacles using your mind rather than letting your emotions overrun everything. Idea number 2, blaming others for our unhappiness. We often think that our suffering comes from what others do to us, our boss, our partner, our family, our society. And we suffer because we believe that others should behave differently. Whether that's a friend or our spouse or even a stranger on the internet. But blaming others gives away our power. When you allow the actions and choices of others to determine how you feel, then you're not in control of yourself. Now, Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own emotions. No one makes you feel angry, frustrated, or disappointed. You make a judgment about something which causes you to feel that way. Now, the Stoics teach us that we can't control other people, only how we respond to them. So focus on what you can control, your thoughts and reactions. Accept other people as they are, rather than wishing they were different. Adapt to how they are or walk away, but don't demand that they change. Just as you wouldn't want somebody to demand that you change, you should offer them that same courtesy. And when you disagree with somebody and you don't like what somebody has to say, rather than getting upset or frustrated about it, just recognize that it's their opinion about something. And you don't have the right to change their opinion, and you can just let it be. It's like Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Idea number 3, not living in the present. So Seneca says, true happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient, for he that is so wants nothing. So often we are not in the present. We get stuck in the past, for example. We feel regret and replay past mistakes, wishing we had acted differently. But the past is gone, and reliving it doesn't change anything. It only robs us of peace in the present. Now, because the past is done, we should make sure that instead of sitting in regret, that we learn. Use the past to make better choices moving forward. Don't let the past define you. Let it refine you. Now, on the other side, we often spend too much time worrying about the future and either fear things that might come or fear things won't turn out the way that we want. Again, this is why it's important to let go of the expectations. But we should also let the future be what it will be and do our best to be in the present moment. What do I mean by being in the present moment? It means that be where you are, be aware of what's going on, not sitting stuck in the future or stuck in the past, but being where you are. For example, are you playing with your kids? Are you working on a project? Are you having dinner with friends? Whatever you are doing in that present moment, be all in. Notice what's going on around and appreciate the fact that you get to do whatever it is that you're doing. Be where you are. And one tool that you can use, which can be really helpful for being present, is taking a moment and think about memento mori. That is, to remember that you will die. And the reason why that's so important and not morbid is that the fact that you are living at this moment, the fact that you get to be alive and breathe and to spend time with family and friends and appreciate those things can really help you focus on what is here now. Idea number 4, expecting happiness instead of creating it. So many people assume that happiness is something that just happens to us. You get the right job or the right relationship, or you happen to live in the right circumstances. But we could have a great job that others might envy, or a fantastic partner, or be extremely wealthy and still be unhappy. These are all things that are external to us, and external things are neutral and can either help us or hinder us depending upon our perspective. There are plenty of people who are very wealthy and still feel like they don't have enough and have to go out and get more. Others have great partners, but are still looking for something else. So Immanuel Kant said, happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination. And what he means by that is that happiness is not a simple checklist of things that we do, accomplish, or get, meaning that we can expect to just do a certain thing and find happiness, or get certain things and find happiness, or achieve certain things and then we'll be happy. Stoicism teaches us that happiness is not found in those external things, but how we think about the world. It's based upon our perspective of the world. And along with that comes that we should focus on the things that are most important. We should focus on living with virtue. And that means that we practice wisdom and courage and justice and temperance. That we focus on being grateful for what we already have. Happiness follows from how we live and think and what we give to the world, not what we have or the things that we're trying to achieve. In conclusion, the Stoics give us a great formula for happiness. We make ourselves unhappy when we cling to false beliefs about how we think life should be. But Stoicism gives us the antidote. We can practice letting go of our expectations and focus on accepting things as they are so that we can work with things as they really are and find the choices and actions that we can take which will improve our lives. We can take responsibility for our emotions, and we can be the ones who are in control of how we feel about things by making correct judgments and understanding when we're getting upset and frustrated that it's our thoughts around those things that are causing those emotions. Next, we can stop trying to control others. When we try to control others, we cause them unhappiness and we cause ourselves unhappiness. So let others be who they're going to be. You don't need to control them. You just need to focus on how you want to be in this world and how you want to respond to anything that anybody else does. Next, learn from the past. Don't dwell on it and let the future be what it will be. And lastly, create happiness through action, not expectations. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. And that's the end of this week's Stoic Coffee Break. As always, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and thanks for listening. I also wanted to let you know that my book has come out this week, and I would really appreciate if you would support me and go out and purchase a copy of it. I put a lot of work into it, and if you enjoy this podcast, this is a great book which will help you to actually dive a little bit deeper into Stoicism and find ways to apply it in your daily life. Also, if you purchase my book, then you go to my website at stoic.coffee. You can gain access to the Mind Over Mood 30-Day Stoic Challenge. It's a course that I built which will help you to actually implement these things that you learn from my podcast and my book. Thanks again for listening.